In 2020, Nintendo released Super Mario 3D All-Stars, a remastered of the first three 3D Mario games, Super Mario 64, Super Mario Sunshine and Super Mario Galaxy. It was something fans have been waiting for years. Everyone was happy at first, but then everyone realized they've been able to ruin it. I mean, it wasn't terrible, but come on, a limited release, no Super Mario Galaxy 2, it's the same of Super Mario Galaxy, what was the complication here? The games didn't run insanely well, okay, Super Mario Galaxy was good, but come on, Super Mario Sunshine been stuck at 30 frames per second, while fans have been able to make it run at 60 frames per second with a damn cheat code. Also Super Mario 64 without a 16:9 aspect ratio, 30 frames per second, while fans had been able to do this. Come on, Nintendo, it wasn't the best package. It wasn't terrible by any means, these are three of the greatest games of all time, but it could have been a lot better with just a bit of more effort. Today we're gonna do something special. We're gonna make a better Super Mario 3D All-Stars. Here's the plan. Our Super Mario 3D All-Stars will have the 4 main 3D Mario games, so come here Super Mario Galaxy 2. All of them will run in 4K, 60 frames per second and in a 16:9 aspect ratio. And our collection will have its own menu from which you can select one of the 4 games. But first I have to give you a very important warning. Emulators are legal, but obtaining the ROMs can be illegal. Nowadays it's still not that clear, but to be absolutely sure, just try to do whatever you want to do with games that you own. I'm not gonna explain you how to get the ROMs, just make sure you don't steal any software. Everything you're gonna see today is just for demonstration purposes and I don't support piracy at all. First off, let's decide how we want to run the games. I've opted for Dolphin emulator. I can't use the Super Mario 64 PC port, even though it could give a far greater result. And you might say, how can you run Super Mario 64 on Dolphin, which is a Wii and GameCube emulator? It may be okay for the other games, but how can it work for Super Mario 64? Well, Dolphin Emulator is also a great Nintendo 64 emulator because it is compatible with the Wii Virtual Console games, so it's easy to convert N64 games in Wii games. I'm not gonna show the process because it involves modifying the ROM and I'm not sure how clean I can come out of this, but just trust me, it's possible. I think everything's set, now let's start with the first game.
It's me, Mario!
Super Mario 64, the first 3D Mario game ever and one of the games that started the 3D platform genre. It was released in 1996 in Japan and America and 1997 in Europe. Nowadays it's considered one of the best games ever. And it's also one of my favorites, it's one of the few retro games that I actually own. Running the game, we can see that it hasn't aged that well. The resolution is not great. Also, the letterbox aspect ratio could be definitely improved, the textures are way too pixelated, and there is this annoying dark filter that makes the image way worse. So, what can we do here? First, we can use some AR codes that can remove the dark filter, improve that aspect ratio a bit removing the vertical lines, and then we can crank up the resolution to 1080p. Now the game is much more pleasant and it runs almost exactly as the version included in Super Mario 3D All-Stars. Except for the texture, but we're gonna work on that later. The other thing we can do is use codes again to make the game run in a 16:9 aspect ratio, and then using a patch we can make the game run at 60 frames per second. And we're definitely almost there. The game runs smoothly, it's stunning, but Mario's animations are still stuck at 30 frames per second, but with this particular version of the game running on Virtual Wii, we can't do that much. If you use the PC port, you can get a way better result. But for what I have, this is the best I can do. Now we crank the resolution all the way up to 4K. We can use this texture pack made by Ghostly Dark. I'll leave a link to his work in the description, it's amazing. And after all of that, we are left with...
It's me, Mario! Press start to...
It's insane thinking that we went from this to this. This is what our remastered should have been. Now enjoy a bit of gameplay. Our next game is Super Mario Sunshine, released in 2002 in Japan, Europe and America. The game has almost the same issues as Super Mario 64, low resolution, also with textures, a letterbox aspect ratio, and also runs at 30 frames per second. We can fix most of that with codes and cranking up the resolution to 1080p. And now the game runs exactly like in Super Mario 3D All-Stars, but as with Super Mario 64, we can do a lot better. We can use a Gecko code to make the game run at 60 frames per second, and we can use texture packs to improve the general look of the game. There are two main Super Mario Sunshine HD texture packs. One is from Enrico Magnifico, which is the one I used, but there is also another one, made by Cashto and Razius, from which I got the title screen of the game. I have removed the credits from the title screen of the game, but it's just for demonstration purposes. I'm not planning on stealing the creator's work, go check out their work, it's incredible. After applying the textures and the code and cranking the resolution all the way up to 4K, we are left with Again, it's insane to think that we went from this to this. It's a whole different game and it really looks like it came out in the recent years. Now enjoy a bit of gameplay once again. Now it's time for Super Mario Galaxy, released in 2007 in Japan, America and Europe, sequel of Super Mario Sunshine, but it's considered the true sequel to Super Mario 64, and it's considered one of the best games of all time, set in space with a more cinematic and epic look, and it's one Super Mario 3D All-Stars made a better job on. We don't have to work that much on the game because it already looks good, but we can make the same improvements we made to the other games. The resolution isn't that high, so we're gonna crank it all the way down to 1080p, and the game already looks way better, just like on Mario 3D All-Stars. But then, once again, we can use HD textures and a 4K resolution. The textures were made by CDMJs, I'm not sure how it's pronounced, and they are continuation of Razius' work. Be sure to check them out once again. And we are left with It's great to give justice to this insane game. Talking about the controls, I have the Nintendo Switch Pro controller, and Dolphin can use this controller's motion controls and translates them into Wii motion controls, so we have the full access to the pointer feature, the shaking features and even the rumble. I also decided to map the right stick to control the pointer, I used the X button just like on the version in Mario 3D All-Stars to make a spin, and I used the R button to center the pointer. We can write a bit of code in Dolphin to make the game choose the control scheme that we want to use at launch. The controls are perfect, they are exactly like in Mario 3D All-Stars, but with the extra feature of the right stick they can be also a bit more comfortable. And now enjoy a bit of gameplay. Now we have to talk about the elephant in the room. Super Mario Galaxy 2, sequel to Super Mario Galaxy, released in 2010. It's my favorite game of all time. It has a more colorful look than Super Mario Galaxy, insane soundtrack, insane level design, it has Yoshi, it's perfect. I have a lot of good memories with this game. It's basically the same as Super Mario Galaxy, so we will use the same control scheme, we'll crank the resolution up, but we still miss the textures, so the textures were made by CDM, Jace and Razius, check their work once again, and after we crank the resolution all the way up to 4K, we are left with... something that makes me cry. I already told you how much I love this game, so enjoy a bit of gameplay and we are done. Now we have all the 4 games and we need a way to launch them. I found about this frontend, Pegasus, that is also available for Mac. It's very customizable and it supports custom themes. After writing the scripts to launch my 4 games, I had to decide which theme to use, or at least to use as a base. I found this one made by Seth Powell named Prospero OS, which replicates the home screen of a PlayStation 5. It's very clean, so I think I'm gonna use this one. After a bit of work, we are left with something good enough. With the press of a button, we can launch the games. So, overall, I'm calling this project a success. This is what I would have wanted from a remastered version. Something that gives justice to 4 of the greatest games of all time. I don't want to take credit on any of the cheat codes and texture packs that I showed. I really didn't make anything of what I've shown in the video, I just put everything together. Make sure to check out all of the original creators of the codes and the texture packs, I'll leave everything in the description. If you like this video, please leave a like and subscribe, maybe leave a comment, and I'll see you next time.